She was too embarrassed to talk about her condition until she discovered her doctor was a young millionaire who understood her pain. The walls of the clinic were freshly painted, the scent of antiseptic still sharp in the air. Lena stepped inside, clutching her appointment slip like a shield. The new dermatology center looked modern, too clean, too bright, and she instantly regretted coming. She hated doctor visits. "Ms. Tran?" a nurse called. Lena lifted her hand stiffly, trying not to make contact with anything. She followed the nurse through a pristine hallway, eyes fixed on the floor. In the exam room, the nurse motioned for her to sit. "We'll just check your temperature," she said with a practiced smile. Before Lena could object, the nurse gently touched her forearm to guide the thermometer into place. A sharp electric pain tore through her skin. Lena gasped, jerking her arm away violently. "I told you not to touch me." The nurse froze. I'm sorry, I didn't." The door opened before she could finish. A tall man in a white coat stepped in, calm and confident, with deep-set eyes and neatly combed black hair. The tag on his chest read, "Dr. Marcus Williams." "Is everything all right?" he asked, voice even but commanding. She reacted when I touched her arm. I didn't mean to." "She has allergies," Marcus said flatly, not looking at the nurse but straight at Lena. "Am I right?" Lena's defenses went up. "Yes," she replied cautiously. "Contact allodynia, judging by your reaction," he added, setting his tablet down. She narrowed her eyes. "How did you know that without checking my file?" "I do not need a file to recognize pain when I see it," he said calmly. "And, the way you moved, it's not fear, it's neuropathic." The nurse apologized again and quickly exited. Lena sat tense, clutching her elbows. "You must be Dr. Williams, the new guy." Her voice was cold. "I am," he said, pulling a stool close but not too close. "Dr. Marcus Williams. I specialize in dermatological immune disorders and chronic pain syndromes." "Good for you," Lena muttered. Marcus opened a drawer and handed her a pair of soft cotton gloves. "These may help, hypoallergenic. For your next visit you can use them to protect yourself before we start." Lena eyed the gloves, then him. She slipped them on slowly. "You're different," he raised a brow. "Because I knew your condition?" "No, because you didn't look at me like I was crazy." Her voice had softened slightly. Marcus tapped something on his tablet. "You're currently on gabapentin and a topical lidocaine?" "Been on it for months. Doesn't help." He looked up. "That's because they're treating the wrong pathway. You don't need nerve dampening. You need nerve retraining. With your permission, I'd like to change your protocol. It involves microstimulation therapy and controlled desensitization over 8 weeks." She narrowed her eyes. "Just like that? Another doctor thinking they know better?" "No," he said, his tone steady. "Not just like that. I'm not trying to impress you. I'm trying to help you stop hurting." She laughed, bitter and sharp. "Why do you care? Most doctors act like I'm making this up." He paused, then looked her directly in the eyes. "Because I lost someone to this." Lena froze. "My sister," he said quietly. "Lan. She was 14. No one believed her pain. They thought she was overreacting. She got infected from over-medicated burns. Her immune system collapsed. She died in the hospital after years of being told it was in her head." The silence that followed was thick and raw. "I'm sorry," Lena murmured. "You don't need to be," Marcus said. "But I do." She looked away, but her voice had changed. "So what? Now you're trying to save every girl who reminds you of her?" "No," he said. "Now I try to do my job better than I did back then." Lena exhaled. The gloves on her hands felt softer than she expected. He stood, handed her a folder with the proposed treatment plan. "Read it. No pressure. Come back if you want to try." As he turned to leave, she called after him. "What if it doesn't work?" He looked over his shoulder. "Then we try again and again until something does." That night, Lena lay in bed with the gloves still on. She stared at the folder, untouched on her nightstand. For once, instead of fear, she felt something like curiosity. Maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. Lena had not meant to come back. After the first appointment with Dr. Marcus Williams, she went straight home, tossed the treatment folder on the kitchen counter, and ignored it for days. It sat there like a silent invitation to trust, something she had long since stopped doing. That night, she dreamt of her skin peeling off in sheets, of invisible flames licking her arms. She woke up gasping, soaked in sweat, her fingers shaking as they gripped the gloves Marcus had given her. She still did not trust him, but she could not deny one thing. He had looked her in the eyes, not at her condition, not at her chart, at her, and something in that gaze had made her feel less like a specimen and more like a person. Still, that did not mean she was ready. 3 days later, her phone buzzed. A message from the clinic. "Dr. Williams has left your plan open should you choose to proceed. No charge, just hope." She deleted the message. The subway was packed that afternoon, the air thick with rain-damp coats and unspoken frustration. Lena was heading home from a rare trip outside. She needed groceries, and it had taken her nearly an hour to mentally prepare to go. As she stepped onto the train, someone bumped into her, hard. An elbow to the side, through the damp fabric of her blouse. The pain was instantaneous, like fire igniting just beneath her skin. She bit her lip, trying not to scream. Her vision blurred. She clawed for a handrail but missed. The world tilted, her knees buckled. All she could think was, "Get off!" She stumbled out at the next station, barely seeing the signs, her arms wrapped around herself as if to hold the pain in. The rain greeted her with icy slaps as she emerged above ground. She did not think. She just walked. The clinic lights were still on. The receptionist was startled to see her, drenched, eyes red, not on the schedule. "I need to see Dr. Williams," Lena said, voice trembling. "He's with a patient, but—" "Tell him it's me. He'll know." 10 minutes later, Marcus appeared at the door. He said nothing at first, just looked at her. The soaked hair, the way she held her arms away from her body like they were broken wings. He stepped aside. "Come in." She sat down, still trembling. A towel was placed around her shoulders. For a long moment, the only sound was the hum of the overhead lights. Then she said, without looking at him, "I changed my mind, but that doesn't mean I trust you." He nodded. "You do not have to. I can't take this anymore. I can't keep pretending I'm fine when I can't even take the train without feeling like I've been set on fire." Marcus sat across from her, hands folded. He did not speak right away. When he did, his voice was quiet. "My sister, Josie, was 16. She had a milder form of allodynia, diagnosed late. They gave her steroid creams, painkillers, nerve suppressants. Too much. Her skin thinned. She got infected. Her body could not fight it." Lena finally looked up. His face was unreadable, but his eyes were not. "She died in my arms," he finished. "And I swore I would never let that happen to someone else. Not if I could help it." She swallowed hard. "Is that why you opened this place?" "In part. The rest. Maybe to prove to myself that I could do something real, something that mattered." She nodded slowly. He stood, walked to a cabinet, and retrieved a slim case. Inside were smaller versions of the gloves he had given her, along with a printed weekly plan. "No fees," he said. "This is part of an ongoing trial for desensitization therapy. It is not perfect. There will be pain, but it is a plan built for people like you." Lena took the gloves, turning them in her hands. "You said you'll prove it, not with words." Marcus met her gaze. "With results, no promises, just progress." And for the first time in years, Lena believed someone meant it. She tucked the gloves under her arm and stood. "I'll be back next week," she said. Marcus nodded. "We'll go slow, one step at a time." Outside, the rain had slowed to a drizzle, but for Lena, the storm had already begun to pass. The first week of treatment was quiet. No dramatic breakthroughs, no miracles, just silence and structure. Lena followed the plan Marcus had created with precision. She took the anti-inflammatory supplements every morning, adhered strictly to the nerve-calming diet, no caffeine, no sugar, no processed food. Every evening she practiced guided meditation he had recorded himself, his voice steady and low in her ears as she breathed through the lingering pain on her arms, her back, her legs. She did not expect to feel different. But slowly something inside her began to shift. Her skin still flared up, but less violently. Her anxiety before touch dulled at the edges. She found herself pausing, not recoiling, when brushing against her pillowcase at night. Every Wednesday she returned to the clinic, and every Wednesday Marcus was there. He did not delegate her file to an assistant or an intern. He did not send messages through nurses. He met her himself, clipboard in hand, gloves on, eyes level. "How's the sleep?" "3 hours," she'd say. "We'll try to make it 4. "How's the diet?" "I miss chocolate," she'd mutter. "Good. That means you're still human." Each session lasted only 20 minutes, but those 20 minutes felt like the only time all week when she could breathe. He never asked too many questions, and she never offered answers. They met in the quiet. It was nearly 7:30 p.m. on a Thursday when Marcus locked his office and headed toward the front of the clinic. The staff had gone home. The janitor's cart was parked in the hallway. The lights were dimmed. Then he saw her. Lena sat curled in one of the lobby chairs, arms wrapped around her knees, her forehead resting on her forearm. She wore her gloves. Her bag was on the floor beside her. Her jacket hung loosely over one shoulder. He paused. "Lena?" he said softly. Her head snapped up, startled. Sorry, I didn't mean to stay so late." He stepped closer. "Is something wrong?" She hesitated. Then, "The buses are full. I waited 30 minutes. It's rush hour, too many people, too much everything." Marcus glanced out the glass doors. The city buzzed beyond the window, bright, loud, suffocating. "I can call a car for you." She shook her head. "I can't risk another stranger, not tonight." He nodded slowly. Then, without a word, he unbuttoned his coat and gently draped it over her shoulders. She froze, not from fear, not from pain, but from something else. The coat was warm, worn in, faintly smelling of clean soap and cedar wood. It enveloped her like a shell, not trapping her but protecting her. "I'll wait with you," Marcus said, sitting in the chair beside hers. "You don't have to talk, just sit." She looked at him, and for the first time her eyes did not flash with suspicion or defiance. They were soft, almost Williamsnerable. After a long moment she said quietly, "That's the first time." He looked over, curious. "That's the first time I didn't feel pain when someone got close." He did not smile. He did not make a joke. He simply nodded, as if the statement deserved reverence. "You're healing," he said. They sat in silence, not the kind that demanded to be filled, but the kind that felt like understanding. That night, he waited until the crowd thinned and walked her to a car with a driver he trusted. He did not hover. He opened the door, nodded once, and said, "See you next week." And, as the car pulled away, Lena watched him in the rearview mirror, his hands in his pockets, his shoulders relaxed, not a doctor, not a savior, just someone who chose to stay when the world got too loud. She would not forget that. It was the first time Lena had worn short sleeves in public in almost a year. The afternoon sun was mild, the air crisp, and she had felt brave. She stood in line at the checkout of a small grocery store, her basket filled with fresh fruit, oatmeal, and the dark chocolate Marcus had told her she could try in moderation. She had almost smiled when she paid. Maybe things were changing. Outside, the sidewalk was crowded, people rushing off work, bumping shoulders, too many sounds, too many bodies. She kept close to the wall, heart racing slightly but steadying with each breath. She did not see him coming. A man in a leather vest, reeking of cigarettes and beer, shoved past in the tight space near the alley entrance. His arm hit her bare shoulder hard, direct skin contact. Lena gasped, then screamed. It was instant. Her skin ignited. The burning electric pain coursed through her side. She fell to the pavement, clutching her arm, sobbing, unable to stop shaking. Don't touch me!" she cried out, voice cracked. "I have a condition, I'm not faking it." The man turned around, startled at first, then confused, then sneering. "What the hell's wrong with you?" Lena tried to move back, her breath shallow. "Please, just don't—" "Oh, I get it," he said, looking around at the small crowd gathering. "Little Miss Princess over here doesn't want anyone to touch her. Must be allergic to peasants." Someone in the crowd laughed. Lena blinked fast, pain turning into humiliation. "You think you're better than the rest of us?" the man barked. "I barely brushed your shoulder." "It's called allodynia," she whispered. "It hurts. I can't—" "Oh, please," he scoffed, pulling out his phone. "Get a load of this. Grocery store meltdown, girl screams like a banshee over nothing." "No, stop," Lena begged. He hit record. She was still on the ground, her knees scraped, eyes wet. The crowd did not help. They just watched. "You're gonna go viral, sweetheart," he said. The video went online that night. The title, "Poor Girl Pretends to be a Princess, Loses It Over a Tap on the Arm." Within hours, it had over 80,000 views. The comments were brutal. "What a drama queen. Someone bumped you, not stabbed you. Another snowflake looking for attention. Bet she's trying to get money out of it. Probably a failed actress." That's the problem with these girls. They think pain is aesthetic. By morning, it was everywhere. Lena sat on the floor of her apartment, her phone buzzing with message after message. She had deleted every app, but the notifications still seeped through. She pulled a blanket over her head, rocking back and forth. Her shoulder still throbbed, her face burned with shame. The whole world thought she was a joke. She was back to being the girl no one understood. Back to being the girl everyone judged. She turned off her phone completely, then unplugged the router, then curled into the smallest corner of her bed and stayed there. The world outside could burn. She would not be part of it anymore. She did not go to her next session. She ignored Marcus's messages, short, simple, "Saw the video, call me when you can. Do not let this break you. I'll handle it." She did not believe him. No one could handle this. It was too late. She was trending for all the wrong reasons. She was, once again, the girl no one dared to touch, not just physically but emotionally. And this time, she feared she might never come back from it. Lena did not answer the door the first time he knocked, or the second. Marcus stood outside her apartment building in the late afternoon sun, a paper bag in one hand and determination in his eyes. He had seen the video, watched it spread like wildfire. He had read the vile comments, the mocking laughter, the blind cruelty. He had seen the part where she cried out in pain and not one person stepped in. On his third knock, the door creaked open. She stood there, hoodie pulled over her head, eyes bloodshot, voice flat. "Why are you here?" "I brought tea," he said, holding up the bag. She stared at him for a long second, then stepped aside. Inside, the apartment was dim, curtains drawn, silence heavy. "You should not be alone right now," Marcus said, setting the tea on the counter. "I'm fine." "You are not." She sat on the edge of the couch, arms folded tightly. "They think I'm making it up. They are wrong." "I know that," she whispered. "But they don't care." He sat across from her, not too close. "Then we make them care." She looked at him sharply. "By doing what? Posting a pity party?" "No," he said. "By telling the truth. With science, with dignity, not defense, clarity." She said nothing for a moment. Then, "I can't go through another wave of this. You won't be alone this time." She looked at him again, really looked. His calm face, his steady breath. Not pity, not anger, just conviction. "You do that?" "Yes. I have the platform. I have the data. And you have the courage." 2 days later, they sat together in a quiet studio, lights low, background neutral. Marcus wore his white coat. Lena wore long sleeves but no gloves. A monitor behind them showed diagrams of the nervous system. The video began. "This is Lena Tran," Marcus said into the camera. "She has a condition called tactile allodynia, a rare neurological disorder where touch, even the softest contact, triggers intense pain." Footage played. Animated visuals of nerve endings firing abnormally, skin responding as if burned by light pressure. He continued, "It is not imaginary, it is not dramatic, it is measurable. And it affects real people." Lena spoke next. Her voice was clear but soft. "I never wanted to be famous. I never wanted to explain my pain to strangers. But now I have to, because staying silent lets the lies spread." She told them what the pain felt like, how a simple brush on her shoulder could leave her crying, how shame became her daily coat. And then she said, I'm not angry at those who did not know. I'm afraid of those who refuse to learn." Marcus ended the video with one line. "She is not looking for sympathy. She is asking for understanding." They uploaded it that night. By morning it had gone viral, but differently. This time the world listened. The comments began to change. "I had no idea this condition existed. Thank you for explaining." To everyone who mocked her, "I hope you're watching this and learning something." "Lena, you're braver than you know." "I have fibromyalgia. I've felt this kind of pain. Thank you for speaking for so many of us. You made me rethink how I respond to people in pain. I'm sorry for ever doubting you." She read the comments, one after another, curled on her couch, hands pressed to her mouth. Not shaking, just stunned. Then she picked up her phone and messaged Marcus. "Thank you for believing, for fighting back with truth." His reply came quickly. "You did that. I just stood beside you." And for the first time since the video went up, Lena smiled. Not because the pain was gone, but because she was no longer invisible. The wind was gentler that morning, or maybe Lena just noticed it more. She stood outside the clinic for a moment, breathing in the late spring air. Her fingers, still gloved, no longer trembled as they once had. She wasn't sure if it was the treatment, the passage of time, or the way Marcus had looked at her in that video. Steady, unshaken, real. Whatever it was, she didn't hesitate when she opened the door. Inside, everything was as she remembered. Clean, bright, calm. But there was something else now, too. Warmth. Marcus greeted her with a small smile, not from behind a desk, not from a distance, but beside a kettle on the corner counter. "I made ginger tea," he said. "You mentioned last time it helped with the nausea." She blinked. "You remembered?" He handed her the cup carefully, making sure their fingers didn't touch. "I remember everything you say when you're not trying to hide behind sarcasm," he teased, gently. She almost laughed. Almost. He gestured toward the usual exam chair, already lined with a fresh cotton sheet. A thick wool shawl was folded on the side. Hers, the one he had gotten for her after she had once shivered through an entire session in silence. "Still cold?" he asked. "Not today," she said softly. "Not anymore," he nodded. "That's good." The checkup began the same as always, routine, structured, slow. He examined the healing patterns of her skin, the fading inflammation, the response to light contact. He narrated everything he was doing, just like always. But something felt different today. She wasn't flinching. She wasn't shrinking away from the light, or the air, or the soft brush of the cotton swab. And then came the moment. "Can I test your wrist?" he asked. She nodded, extending her arm. His gloved fingers moved gently, brushing the inner curve of her wrist, the spot that for years had been the most reactive. The lightest touch used to feel like fire. Now, nothing. No sting, no burn, no panic. Just warmth. She stared at her wrist, then at his hand, then back at him. "Did you feel that?" he asked. She nodded. "But it didn't hurt." He looked up, meeting her eyes. "Not at all?" he asked quietly. "Not at all," she said, voice trembling slightly. "It's the first time in years. I didn't even brace for it." They sat in silence for a moment. She pulled her hand back slowly, still staring at it. It felt like a touch. That's all. Marcus didn't say anything. He just smiled. A real one. Gentle. Solid, like a promise. "You're healing, Lena." She swallowed, her throat tight. "It's not just the treatment, is it?" "No," he said honestly. "It's you. It's every step you didn't give up on." She exhaled shakily. Outside the window the city moved on, cars honking, people bustling, but inside, everything had slowed. She looked at him again, carefully. He wasn't just the doctor anymore. He was the man who had seen her at her worst, and still shown up with tea and warm coats and quiet encouragement. And now, with nothing but a gentle touch on her wrist, he had given her something she thought she had lost forever. Peace. "I think I'm ready," she whispered. "For what?" he asked. "To live like I'm not broken." Marcus didn't rush in with praise or poetic words. He just nodded, as if she had said the most natural thing in the world. And then, with the same patience he had shown since the beginning, he said, "Then let's take the next step." The office walls were not cold. That was the first thing Lena noticed. There were paintings, bright, abstract ones, lined along the hallway. There were indoor plants, the scent of fresh coffee, soft laughter echoing from behind open doors. It was her first day at the design firm she had quietly applied to 3 weeks earlier, half hoping they would never call her back. But they did, and they offered her a full-time role after just one interview. Lena almost didn't say yes. It terrified her, but Marcus had looked at her, serious and gentle, and said, "Fear is part of it. The difference is, this time you're not alone." So she accepted. Now, seated at a desk with a window view, her fingers hovered above her keyboard as her new manager smiled and said, "Just start slow. We know your work already speaks for itself." She wore her long-sleeved blouse, gloves in her bag just in case. No one asked why she was careful when shaking hands. When she gently explained during orientation, voice calm and steady, "I have a rare skin sensitivity. It's manageable now, but I still take precautions," they only nodded. "Thanks for letting us know," someone said. "Just tell us what you need. No questions, no pity, just respect." It was surreal. By lunch, she was laughing, actually laughing, over a conversation about fonts and someone's cat that hated serif. She hadn't realized how much she missed this kind of ordinary noise, how much she missed belonging. That evening, Marcus pulled up in his car just outside her building. She had messaged him earlier, almost shyly. "First day went okay. Want to hear about it?" He showed up 10 minutes later. She stepped into the passenger seat, her bag slung over one shoulder, hair pulled into a loose bun. "Well?" he asked, already grinning. She gave him a look. It was weird. He raised an eyebrow. "Weird," she repeated. "Like nobody stared, nobody overreacted. One woman even asked for design advice, and not in a 'tell me what illness you have' kind of way." Marcus chuckled. "Weird sounds like a good start." She leaned her head back against the seat. I didn't think I'd be able to do it. Not a real job, not being in a space with other people." He glanced at her. "But you did." She looked out the window at the golden hue of the evening sky. "You know the weirdest part?" "What?" "I wasn't afraid of their hands or their eyes." He smiled, turning the wheel as they passed under a row of cherry trees. "You're healing, Lena, inside and out." She exhaled slowly. "It still scares me, though, like what if one day it comes back?" He nodded. "Then we'll face it again. That's all. Not every battle has to be won forever. Some are won day by day." They stopped at a red light. The car was quiet. And then he said softly, "But for what it's worth, I think you're going to be okay." She turned to him. "You know that phrase, live like you're not broken?" He nodded. "I think I finally understand it." He didn't answer. Instead, he reached over, not to touch her, but to hand her something. A sketchbook. She opened it slowly. On the first page was a drawing, soft pencil strokes forming an image of her standing beneath a tree, head tilted toward the sky, eyes closed, peaceful. "I saw you that day, waiting for the bus. I drew it that night." Her throat tightened. "You're an artist too?" she asked. He shrugged. "Only when the subject makes me feel something." She closed the book gently, holding it against her chest. Outside, the light turned green. Marcus didn't drive immediately. Instead, he looked at her, voice low and certain. "See? You don't have to live in the shadows anymore. You can live and shine, just as you are." And in that moment, with city lights rising around them and her chest full of something that felt a lot like peace, Lena believed him. The grand hall of the new Skin Beyond Pain Center was filled with soft golden light, warm chatter and quiet awe. The place did not feel clinical, it felt alive. Plants grew in wide pots along the walls. A mural of outstretched hands painted in watercolor hues stretched across the back wall, underneath which a stage had been set. The occasion was the opening of the center's newest branch, built not just to treat skin conditions, but to reshape how the world saw invisible pain. Lena stood backstage, fingers folded gently in front of her. She wore a long, elegant dress of pale blue, with sleeves that skimmed her wrists in soft, breathable fabric. Her hair fell in simple curls, and a silver pendant glinted at her neck. It had been exactly 1 year since her life changed, since she met a doctor who did not treat her like a symptom, since she found unexpectedly not just relief, but recognition, and slowly, love. She took a deep breath. "Ready?" a voice whispered beside her. She turned. Marcus stood there in his usual calm, a navy suit, no tie, a pocket square that matched her dress. But there was something in his eyes tonight, something steady and storming all at once. "Almost," she whispered. He touched her elbow lightly. A gesture that once would have left her breathless with pain now brought only comfort. A few moments later, he was called to the stage. Applause rippled across the room as he took the microphone. Marcus smiled, glancing around at doctors, patients, donors, and strangers whose lives would soon be touched by the work that began with a single promise. Then he spoke. "A year ago," he began, "I met a woman who did not want to be touched, not because she lacked love, but because pain had taught her that contact meant damage." He paused. She had a rare condition, one that caused her body to interpret the lightest touch as pain. But more than her skin, it was her spirit that had been bruised, by misunderstanding, by judgment, by silence. His voice softened. But despite everything, she came back. She tried. She healed. And today, she's not just a survivor of allodynia. She's a symbol of what it means to live with grace, even when the world does not understand you. He turned slightly to the edge of the stage. "And tonight," he continued, "I would like to do something I once could not." Lena's breath caught. Marcus stepped forward, looking straight at her. "Lena Tran," he said, voice unwavering, "may I touch you, not as a doctor, but as a man in love?" Gasps filled the room as he slowly knelt down on one knee and took out a ring, a small, elegant band. Simple, timeless. "Will you marry me?" he asked. Lena's hands flew to her mouth. Tears welled up instantly, not from fear, not from pain, but from something she had never believed she would feel so freely. Joy. She laughed through the tears, stepping forward. "Marcus Williams," she said, voice trembling. "I used to think I could never love or be loved. I thought my skin was a wall, that no one would ever stay long enough to reach past it." She took his hand, letting their palms meet, no gloves between them. "But now I know. Love does not come from touch. It comes from seeing someone, even when they try to disappear." She bent down beside him, nodded through her smile. 1,000 times, yes!" The room erupted into applause. The moment was not perfect. It was far more. It was real. The wedding was held 2 months later. Not in a cathedral, not in a ballroom, but in a quiet garden behind the new clinic, surrounded by patients, friends, and people who once thought love was for others. Lena walked down the aisle in a dress made of soft, organic cotton, custom designed with no zippers, no harsh seams, no sharp edges. Every inch of it was gentle, like the life she had built. Marcus waited for her beneath an arch of white lilacs and lavender. He wore no gloves. When they exchanged vows, neither spoke about sickness or pain. They spoke about understanding, about the power of someone choosing to stay, about building a life where no one needed to flinch when love came close. And when Marcus slid the ring onto her finger, the world seemed to hold its breath. No one saw fireworks. No one needed to, because in that moment, all the light anyone needed was in the eyes of the woman who once believed her body made her unlovable, and now stood glowing beside the man who proved otherwise, one steady, healing touch at a time. Thank you for staying with us through the heartfelt journey of Lena and Marcus, a story of pain, healing, and the quiet power of love that asks for nothing but understanding. If this story touched something deep within you, don't forget to subscribe to Soul-Stirring Stories. Here, we share tales that inspire, heal, and remind you that even the most delicate hearts can find strength, and even the most wounded souls can find home. Every week, a new story, a new heartbeat, a new reason to believe in kindness again. Soul-Stirring Stories, stories that stay with your soul. See you in the next one.